Creating a dashboard becomes really easy with Power BI. In this video, let's make a finance KPI dashboard in just 20 minutes. I also have a very special surprise for you halfway through the video. Now let's begin our very first step, data preparation. Let's go. My finance data comes in 4 different tables. One is an actual performance table that tells us how each salesperson has performed in each month in a giant pivot report style format. I also have a similar table for targets that tells me for each salesperson in a month what is the target that they are supposed to meet. Apart from these 2 main tables, there are 2 other dimension tables that I use for my work. One is a simplified calendar table that gives me all the dates for the months for which we are going to do the analysis, and a people dimension table that tells me a little bit more about our team. Our first step is to load up this data into Power BI and quickly clean it up so that we can set up a data model. I'm gonna load all these 4 worksheets into Power Query and use the transform data to set up my data cleaning process. In each of the tables, let's promote the number 1 row as the header using use first row as headers option. Next up, if you observe the table's actual and targets, they both have this matrix-like format, which is useful for maintaining the data, but very hard when it comes to analyzing the data. So I'm going to unpivot these data sets. This is really simple. You just right click on the salesperson column and select unpivot other columns option, so that we'll get a standard 3-column table that has the salesperson, attribute and value. I'm going to rename this as month and this as sales. Let's also fix the data types. Month will be a date column. And in the calendar table, I'm going to introduce some more columns so we could quickly analyze this data when it goes into Power BI. For this, we can use the add column ribbon, and while keeping the date column selected, use this date button to quickly introduce various columns. So let's add year, month, name of the month. That is enough for now. Now that all the tables are neatly set up, let's load this data into Power BI by using the close and apply button. Do you have a passion for creating killer dashboards? Well, I got some exciting news for you. I'm thrilled to announce my first ever Power BI dashboard contest happening this month. And guess what? You're invited to join in on the fun. Here is how it works. Simply hop onto Microsoft Teams and join my exclusive awesome dashboard community using your personal email address or phone number. Refer to the video description below for a link to join the community, or scan the QR code that is shown on the screen. The prize? $500 worth of Amazon gift cards could be yours. So what are you waiting for? Join my community, download the awesome chocolates dataset and whip up your very own Power BI dashboard. Other than the contest, use the community to directly interact with me. I'll help answer questions and share advice. All the details about the contest and the deadlines is waiting for you inside the community. So this is your chance to flex those Power BI muscles and win some cool prizes along the way. Ready to dive in? Download the app, sign in using your personal email address, join my community, follow the contest rules to enroll, and start interacting. Our next step is to set up a data model. Now that all the 4 tables are here, let's go to the model view and connect these tables. One of the curious things with financial datasets is they tend to have more than one fact table. So in this case, we can think of both target table and actual table as 2 separate fact tables. And when you are modeling financial data, you need to keep this nuance in mind so that your modeling works best for whatever calculation and visualization scenarios you may have. Let's join the date column to the month column as well. And let's tidy up this model so that our facts are in the center and our dimensions are in the side. So there is our tidy little data model that connects all the four tables neatly. A quick note about the calendar table. This is not a traditional calendar table. It only has the dates, one per each month. And this works all right for my specific dashboard scenario. But if you want a full-blown calendar table, you need to expand this out and fill up all the dates. The next step is to set up all the necessary calculations using DAX. This is where we need to have some clarity about what kind of a financial performance dashboard you want to build, what measures or KPIs are important. If you look at the data model, we can see that at every month for each salesperson, we know what their actual value is and how much was their target. So given this information, here are a few KPIs that we can quickly calculate. Total sales actual, total sales target. And once we know both of these numbers, we can calculate the variance percentage. And those are the four main or the crucial KPIs that will help us understand the financial performance of our team and our business. Given these values, you can also calculate year-to-date values of the same. So year-to-date sales actual, year-to sales target, year-to-date variance, and year-to-date variance as a percentage. I'm just showing year-to-date as an example. You could use the same idea and, for example, calculate things like year-on-year growth or month-to-date values or any other such things if your data permits. One very valuable measure that will help us analyze this data is to understand in which months we have met the target. So I call this as target reached month count. Essentially, given the data that we have, I think we have data for 14 months from January 2023 up until end of February 2024. Within these 14 months, I want to count how many months we have actually reached the target. And then once we have that measure, we can then visualize that either at an overall level or at an individual team or salesperson level. Let's go ahead and create all of these measures using the DAX. We can go here and right click on the actual table and create a new measure. Total sales actual would be sum of the actual table sales column. Total sales target would be sum of the target table sales column. Once these two measures are there, we can create the third measure, that is variance. Variance is total sales actual minus total sales target. And variance percentage is divide variance with target. Let's apply some quick formatting. Select the measure. Using the measure tool, apply the currency formatting or percentage formatting as necessary. For the year-to-date variations, we can add new measures. YTD sales actual is calculate total sales actual, dates YTD, calendar date. Let's take a look at all of these measures quickly to see if they work out all right. I'm gonna expand my visuals thing and use a new card visual which lets me see multiple items in one go. And in this visual, let's add everything. So here we can see $19 million total sales. Actual is also $19 million, 367K variance, negative 1.9% variance in percentages, and year-to-date totals as well, along with the variance information. If you want, you can add a decimal point to this information when you are displaying that in the cards. We'll worry about that later. Now that all our DAX calculations are ready, let's go ahead and create the Finance KPI dashboard. Before I design my dashboard, I like to create a simple theme so that I don't have to make individual selections and customizations on all the visuals. We can do this from the view ribbon. There are many built-in themes for Power BI. I particularly like the City Park one, but for this one, I'm going to use the customize current theme option and set the colors quickly. Now for the dashboard, I want to have three sections. One is a quick summary of all the finance KPIs, and another section deals with the detailed view. And towards the right hand side, I would like to place some filters or slicers so that we can drill down into any specific information. For the main KPIs, we can use the new card visual. And in this, I would like to show my actual, target, variance, variance percentage, and months reached count. We have all the measures except the months reached one. So let's create that one as well. For this, we can create a variable that says months with target reached is a filter of my calendar table where variance is greater than 0. And then we can just count rows of that filter table. I'll also make a measure called target status, which is a simple if formula. If my variance is greater than 0, then I want this number to be 1, else -1. You will understand how this will help us later on when we are building the visuals. For these first 4 cards, I would like to show a reference label with the year-to-date values. This is where the new card visual offers a really simple option to add reference labels directly inside the card. So I'm going to set the reference label, and for each series, total sales actual, I'm going to add the YTD sales actual as the reference label and do the same for each of the other cards. Let's do some quick formatting so that everything looks nice. Next, let's add a box in the background so that we can elevate these cards. For this, we can use a shape and send it all the way to the back. All right, that looks great. One final adjustment I'm going to do is rename all of these reference labels to just YTD. For this, you can go to the reference label and select each of these reference labels and customize the title from content to a custom value and just use the word YTD there. Next, I'm going to add a column chart, and in this chart, I want to see whether we have met the target or not each month as a simple win-loss chart. For this, on the x-axis, we are going to add the date and right click on the date and change it to just date from date hierarchy and use the target status measure that we created earlier. Remember, this one was returning either 1 or -1 depending on whether target is met. Next, I'm going to apply some conditional formatting to these columns so that when it is 1, it's green color, and when it is -1, it is red color. Let's clean up this chart by removing all the unnecessary axes and axis titles. And I'm going to resize this to a small little box so that we can place it underneath our card visual. We can use this top space to fill up with a logo. We'll bring that in later. Now let's add a trend of how we are doing month on month with respect to actual versus target. While we are there, I would like to add one more DAX measure that takes this -1.9% and turns it into a visual representation using Emoji. This is a cool trick and you're going to love it. We'll add a new measure. We're going to declare 2 variables where up is open double quotes and use the Windows and dot key to bring up the emoji keypad. Through this emoji keypad, you can use either emojis or symbols. A common technique is to use the symbol keypad and use one of these arrow keys to show up or down movement. So let's try this one for up. You can browse through the list here and then find some other interesting symbols. There are some very good arrow indicators and some other interesting symbols too. We'll also create one more variable that is formatted var PCT and then use the format function to take the percentage variance and then format it into 0.0%. As we no longer require the sign of this variance percentage because that sign will be indicated by these arrows, I'm going to pass that variance percentage to the absolute function. Now that all the variables are ready, let's return. Return if my variance percentage is greater than 0, then I want the up symbol, else I want the down symbol. And for this if function, we are gonna first add the formatted variance percentage ampersand space this one. So this is gonna basically give you 1.9% down arrow symbol. Let's add this to our model and let's see how this looks like with a simple card first. Now, when I initially designed this for my trial dashboard, I didn't really like just this down arrow. It was kind of looking a little bit dull. So the final version that I went with is, instead of arrows, I went with the emoji. Emojis offer more colorful choices. And in the emoji, when you scroll all the way down here for the heart symbol emojis, you'll find a red circle and a green circle. A green circle is a great indicator for upward movement, and same thing for downward. I'm going to use the red circle. Now our variance percentage label looks cool. Let's replace this card with that one. Next, for our trend, I'm going to use a column chart. And in this column chart, we're going to see the date without any hierarchy. We would like to see the target and actual information. So let's add target, actual, and let's change the color so that the target is the dull color and actual is the strong color. Next up, I'm going to enable the overlap option here and adjust the spacing to be 50%, like that. So now I can see the target in the background and actual in the foreground. I'm going to make one more adjustment to the target color. So select this and make it 50% transparent. Next up, let's add the variance percentage as a data label. So we'll select this, go to data labels, enable them, and go all the way to the value area and bring in the field. This field is my label field that we just calculated. Remember the emoji one. So the label is now added, and we'll just need to make some tweaks to this. The label, when you add to a stacked or clustered charts like this, it's going to add labels for all the series. So I'm going to select the target series and turn off labels for that, so that only the actual series has the labels. Let's adjust some of the chart axis formats and other junk that is already there. And finally, we can add a chart title. I want to add a title that says targets met only 2 out of 14 months. As you can see here, only 2 months have the green icon. So to do that, we can create a DAX measure. We have all the necessary ingredients. So we'll create a new measure, and then var month count. This should return number 14. So we'll simply say count rows of the calendar table, and then return we met targets for months target reached measure out of month count. Once you have that measure, select this chart, go to the title, and where the title is, click on the FX button and search for the title measure and link it up. We met targets for 2 out of 14 months. The beautiful thing with this kind of a title is it is going to be dynamic. So if there is a slicer here that lets me filter to teams, let's add that slicer and let's test this out. If I go to temp or team, so it will say we met targets for 4 out of 14 months. Juices, yummies, or when you clear, you'll see the information for everything. This is working beautifully. And now here, I would like to show the team level performance. For the team level performance, I want to see the picture of the employee, name, how much is their actual performance, how much is their target, what is their variance looking like, and what is the trend looking like. For this, a table visual is great. Before we add the picture, let's go to the model view, select the picture column, and set the data category to image URL. Let's add the picture, name, total actual, total target, and variance percentage. Let's tidy up this table. The pictures are too big in my opinion. I'm going to go to the format, search for image height, and make this 24 pixels. Also adjust the row padding to 2 pixels so that there is a little bit more space here, and turn off the total. Let's format these specific columns now. I'll go to the specific column option and select the actual value and display units to thousands. Same for target. Now let's make the variance into a graphical format. For this, we'll select the variance column, right click on it, go to conditional formatting, data bar, and the positive bar is the green color, negative bar is the red color. Let's add a data bar to the actual value as well. So right click on the actual, conditional formatting, data bar. I'm going to adjust the text color so that we can actually read it, and left align that. This is looking great. Now let's add a trend graph here. For this, select the table, right click on the field well area here, add sparkline. And for this sparkline, the field that we're going to use is the total sales actual, and x-axis field is my calendar date column. Let's apply some formatting for the sparkline. Highest point would be in the green color, and our table is now ready. Let's rename some of these column headings. To rename, double click on the measure name and you can type the values you want. Let's test if this is working out with our team filter. If I click on juices, I'll see just their information. Tempo, yummies, clear the filter, and I'll see everyone. All right. Our finance KPI dashboard is looking great. It tells amazing stories about what has happened, how much is our variance in terms of percentages, and how we are tracking with our targets. Apparently not so well. As everything is interactive, I can click on a month here to see what happened in that month for that team. Or if I click on a specific person, I can see their trends and information both updated here as well as in my cards. A good practice when you are designing dashboards like this is to add some narrative. You can use a text box and type manually such narratives, or alternatively, you can use the smart narrative visual, this one here, and Power BI will create the narrative for you based on the data that is being currently presented. This might feel a bit too verbose and meaningless sometimes, but it is all dynamically generated by Power BI. So you can see that when I go to a specific team, it updates the wording here on the narrative information. Let's put a cherry on top by adding a corporate logo, a red accent bar above the visuals, a status column with another spark line, and adjusting the slicer settings. Isn't it beautiful and elegant? Almost makes you fall in love with the report despite not meeting the targets. And remember, I'm running my first ever Power BI dashboard contest this month. So participate and show off your dashboarding skills. You could win exciting prizes worth up to $500. Link in the video description. Ta-da!